Hey everyone, Billy Carson here at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. I'm here with the beautiful Irena Byriel. Follow her on Instagram at Irena Diva, Irena Diva. She's a quantum consciousness blogger. She's also a music writer, a songwriter, and a singer. And she's here to talk with us today about quantum consciousness. We're going to talk about what's going on in the world right now, some topics that are very hot, obviously. And we're going to try to end this on a positive note and talk about what we can all do to heal as well. So welcome back to the show, Irena.
Hi, Billy. It's so good to be speaking with you again. You know, I've said that every time that we meet and talk, there seems to be a major shift in the world.
Yes, I mean,
it really affects everybody on a global level. So I think we've got a lot to talk about today.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. Yeah, the last time that I saw you in person, we were in Australia? Or did we?
No, we were in Australia, and then we met in Los Angeles.
Right, exactly. Okay, that's right, exactly. Yeah, Australia was phenomenal. Those of you who didn't know, I went to Australia. She actually lives in Australia, but she flew in and met me at a place down in Carryong 9 in New South Wales, just north of New South Wales, where we went out into the bush with guides, and we literally went looking for Proto-Egyptian hieroglyphs, and we found them, and they're absolutely amazing. So that whole documentary series, which will be featuring Irena Byriel in it as well, will be coming out very soon, hopefully by September. But more, right at the end of that trip is when the COVID-19 scare started in China. And then by the time a couple of trips later, just 2-3 weeks went by, and all of a sudden it was a global pandemic. So here we are, and now we're in the midst of this racial pandemic as well. So it's just been a roller coaster going on here, hasn't it?
I mean, I can laugh about it and I can also cry about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that the whole world is going through a different energetic shift, and I think that it's really purging in a sense. So a lot of people are going through their own individual purging, and then you're going to have big collective bodies going through this purging as well. So there's a lot of crazy, chaotic, I think, energy going on. But I think that it's necessary in some ways. I think things have to be brought to surface, and I don't think we're even going to get a choice in that. I think what we do get a choice in is how we respond to the current world events, because I think humanity as a body has to understand that they can really benefit from certain things in their own evolution of consciousness, or they can go at things in a way which really can work against them. And that's the truth of the matter. I really think that all in all, it is really showing us the current state or level that the humanity's level of consciousness is at the moment. And it's still quite primitive in many respects. I think that if we were beings that we're looking down, or extraterrestrials, I think that's what would probably be the most obvious thing. But it's a good thing for us, because then we can look at ourselves and analyze and go, what are we truly, reflecting into the collective consciousness? And I'm sorry to get so deep so fast into the conversation, but it is so needed. And you and I we get all these different messages to our inboxes, and everything we post, we would get so many different types of responses back. But the truth of the matter is, it is really revealing our state of consciousness. Humanity as a collective, it is really revealing where we are at in our own evolution. So I think it's an opportunity for humanity to really reflect. And a lot of people have noticed that the last few months, people have been going within. They just have. Well, a lot of them haven't had a choice, but they're bringing up things maybe inside of them which need a lot of healing, which need a lot of revision. And for some people, they're not in a good place. For others, they've sort of worked themselves through it, and it's opened up new doors and new avenues for them for change, or whatever it is in their own lives, maybe even within their own families and that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I really truly agree with you. And this is one of those topics where there's no way to go. You have to go deep right away. There's no other way to get into it. I think that, dealing with the battling racism globally, it is a pandemic because it's something that's seeded all around the world. Not everybody has it. I call it a virus. Not everybody has this virus. Obviously, we don't have it. But there are people that have it, and it needs to be addressed. The only way to address something that's this poisonous and this dangerous to the human civilization on this planet is to hit it head on and just address it straight up. And look, this is something that's been programmed into a lot of people for generations. And it's not like, I don't think people are born saying, I want to be a prejudiced person or a racist person. It's something that's programmed into us. And the only way to fix this solution or find a solution to this problem is to address it head on and hopefully tap into the hearts of people that may be programmed in this way and maybe get them to change their heart energy and then pass that on to future generations so we can begin to change this situation. I did a video the other day talking about how Black people or African Americans are tormented by epigenetic memories from our ancestors that are stored in our genes, which is real science. And I did a presentation with real science articles showing like this is real peer-reviewed science. It's not fabricated. Just like we're being tormented by our epigenetic memories from what's happened in the past 400 years, there's also people of all different races, not just one race, that are programmed to be racist or biased to different cultures based off of their epigenetic memories from their ancestors as well. So it goes for all different peoples of all different types of situations. It's not just because you've had trauma and stress in your background. It could be the way that a lot of the rearing and the upbringing has gone on for many generations. So for somebody to come into this new era, be born and grow up, if they have a huge history of that in their downline, in their upline, I guess you should say, from their ancestors, it could affect them in ways where they could be susceptible to thinking that way, or open to it. In very small cases, people just reject that programming and think for themselves, thankfully. This is why the virus, isn't 100%. It's only a percentage. But it's, for the people who are like that, the way that I feel about them, obviously I feel empathetic for the people that are racist or prejudiced. I feel like, because I love everybody, and I love even them. And I really feel in a weird kind of way, I feel bad for them. And I really hope that some of them can be reached before they expire in this avatar body, that they can be reached inside the heart, inside the consciousness, and they can make the connection as to where the negative programming is coming from, and that it's not really a tradition, it's a condition, and that they can begin to make that change consciously and try to teach the next generation that they're in charge of a better way,
Yeah, look, you know what? This is it's actually a lot more complex than people think. I know that people go, yeah, racism exists. Yeah, it's really screwed up. But this is a lot more complex. And coming from my own channeling perspective as well, this is going back a very, 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 very long time. I think even into different timelines, Billy, where I actually do think that there's certain karmic cycles which humanity is not even aware about. It's not something you're going to find in your history books. And I know it's got to do with compromised portals, which actually were in the African area and also heavily in the Middle Eastern area. Mm-hmm. That's why there's a lot of problems that actually happen in that side of the world. A lot of people don't understand that, and they're probably maybe not going to understand what I'm saying right now. But that's actually the truth of the matter from a channeling perspective, and that's what we actually get through. So there's all of these different cycles which are playing out, which are very, very ancient. Mm-hmm. From the karmic cycle. I'm not saying that this justifies any sort of suffering or pain. It's not got to do with that. It's got to do with things which are beyond human comprehension in this current timeline. They won't be able to justify that type of thing. Mm-hmm. But that is like a part of it. So there's all these different layers. So when I process this type of information, I'm not biased to this timeline. There are multiple facets that humanity needs to understand about their current situation, which is a reflection of, where they're at in their own evolution of consciousness, where they fell before, why, what was compromised in certain aspects of consciousness, which is the truth, because we're in a lower dimension and that is going to happen. You are going to have so much distortion down, you know, in this dimension,
right.
of resonance. So yeah, that's one aspect of it. And then we can really get into understanding that racism exists everywhere, all over the world, not within every individual, but it has affected multiple different races. So, I mean, and you can really start off with the indigenous of the world, that's global. That's not just in one area. You know, you've got the Aboriginals here in Australia who had basically a genocide and were completely, you know, almost, well, they wanted to wipe them out completely. And then you've got the same with Native Americans. And, you know, I'm half Filipino. I've lived in the Philippines. I've seen things that Westerners have never seen before in their lives in relation to poverty and blatant corruption, which is, they don't even hide it. It's just in your face and you have no power to do anything. You just have to deal with it. And, you know, the Philippines was dominated for centuries. So, you know, it exists within Asia as well. For centuries, we were ruled by other countries, and we still have identity crisis. So you can see this pattern within humanity, right? Because it is a global thing. So people are suffering from this identity crisis. And going back to what you were saying within the DNA, it's there. This pain and this trauma is carrying on through generations and generations. And it only means one thing, Billy. It means that mass healing is needed within the collective consciousness, because every time an event like this happens, it affects the world, it affects huge communities, but there is never any recognition of healing that needs to be done, which would actually heal the ancestral cycles, even the karmic cycles. The healing would need to take place. So you can try and justify, and I've had a lot of people in my inbox try and justify violence and taking these actions and having a revenge. It doesn't do anything to heal the karmic cycles, to heal your own DNA, to heal yourself, and from continuing, you know, bringing that pain and that trauma and suffering. I'm not saying we shouldn't recognize the injustices that happen to people. You know, I'm not trying to say that at all. I'm just trying to say that your true power, humanity, does not lie in the violence, the anger, the aggression, the distorted energy that's coming from the emotional energetic body. It doesn't lie there. So we need to try and educate people now, or people need to look within themselves, because that knowledge is already there, on how they can create a new paradigm going forth, because we all know we don't like this stuff, Billy. Nobody likes this stuff.
Right.
Okay? Unless, you know, unless you're a complete psychopath, which they do exist.
Unless you're one of the Dark Brothers, you know? But yeah, you're right. You hit it on the head. I mean, there's a mass healing that's needed. This whole situation stirred up a lot of emotions inside of me, and I'm really good at staying very zen and calm. I mean, you've known me for a while. You've seen me. You see how I operate. You see how people, when they come at me sideways, how I handle it. But, you know, being that my father is a victim of police brutality, and twice in my lifetime, once I saw him get beat up by cops in 1977 in Miami. And then much later, he was beat by cops a few years ago in Palm Bay, Florida, where they broke his back and gave him a double concussion. So that broken back ended up leading to his death. So, you know, it's just, it stirred up a lot of emotions inside of me. And when you turn on the internet and you see, and the news, and you see everybody going crazy and, you know, rah, 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 and they're angry, that wants to trigger that same thing in me, because it's like, you should be getting angry too. You know, little voices start coming, and I try to do my meditation, maintain my Zen. I realize at this point, I have to expose what's going on, because it has to be shown. And I have to show it from different perspectives. I'm showing it from the perspective of a person that's feeling very hurt and in pain. I'm showing it from the perspective of a person that wants to find a way to find a solution for this, and a perspective of a person that's showing the corruption behind it and what's really going on behind the scenes. So I try to be almost like a unbiased journalist and show all the different variations of what's going on my several, Instagram and Facebook accounts and so forth and so on. But at the same time, while I'm doing that, I'm really hurting inside because of what happened to me in my life. And I have to spend my first Father's Day here in a few days with no father for the first time. And it's like, wow, feel like I've been robbed. I've seen people talk about the fact that their dad had, been murdered by cops and they had to grow up without a father. Fortunately, I was able to grow up all the way, but still, that doesn't take away the pain of losing a loved one to brutality. Something that, like, if it was a disease or something some act of nature, but when it's somebody else that decides to harm another person, it hurts you on the end. Now, that hurt that's inside of me, like we're talking about with memories, if I were to have another child, that's going to pass on. Now, the children that I do have, they have the pain that I suffered and my fear of police officers, that was a lifetime fear from the 1977 until they were born. Part of that's inside of them. So they needed healing as well. Now my children are traumatically hurt because of their grandfather, obviously, passing away from this. And now my daughter, she's having a child in a month and a half. My oldest daughter, she's 29. My son, he's 30. He's already got two. My grandchildren are one's 4 and one's 3.5, or almost 3.5. And so it's like, wow, it's like, everybody, that this healing, it needs to take place. We need to do guided meditations, planned guided meditations. I wish it wasn't COVID-19, this whole thing, because, laying hands on people and using real spiritual healing, it's really needed right now. You got to really touch people, that would be one of the greatest ways, because the power of touch, the power of Reiki healing, the power of transferring energy back and forth like that, sometimes when it's virtually done, it might not have enough powerful effect as it would in person. But we need to definitely do something. We have to find a way to spiritually heal and try to reprogram the DNA, whether we go on this positive affirmation thing for 30 days and we say these positive affirmations and do a meditation. We've got to come up with something. And any ideas that you have, we've got to come up with something to help try to find a way to heal the nations.
Yes. Recently I've been putting a lot of this sort of thing on my Instagram and my Instagram stories about the healing. And there are various ways that we can do it. So having like another energy healer, like you were saying, who knows how to do that sort of work is amazing. But I think it's a good thing that humanity's been forced to sort of deal with it within themselves, because it's never just the energy healer. It's the energy healers are only ever assisting the individual, like in a guided sort of sense, but it really comes down to the individual. So we're pretty much being smacked, head on and going, you need to deal with this purging that's going to come out. You may not like it, but it just has to come out. And that's really the starting, process to any healing. And there will be healing like yourself, there's we all have it. There's certain maybe things in our life that we understand it from a logical perspective, and we've dealt with it from that maybe sense, but energetically it has its own its own purging that it has to do. And the power of doing this means that if we can heal ourselves as a cell within the collective consciousness, that will reflect into the collective. And that's why it's really important. And that's why I sometimes can get frustrated when I speak to people when they just complain about the pain and the suffering. They complain and they go, the injustice, and it's like, and then that's it. It's where the conversation ends for them. You know what I mean? And it's like, so what are we going to do about it, humanity? How are we going to move forward? We already know we don't like this stuff, and it's this healing process. So look, there's a number of different things that we can do, but I think that just going within and letting the purge sort of come out is really the initial step. And everyone is going to be at a different level in their own, soul evolution and their own evolution of consciousness as their own individual cell. So there's going to be different stages and different things people can do. But if there's books that I can recommend, which specifically focus on doing the inner healing work, which is quite simple. Joe Dispenza's work is really brilliant at taking sciences and understanding the energetic perspective as well, and combining that together, and understanding yourself as an energetic body. And that's something I also put on my Instagram as well. You know how they control us? It's through the nervous system of the physical vessel here in this dimension. So your body, they actually infiltrate that part, because humans don't have control of it. They don't have any awareness of it. They don't understand that their emotion is a type of a frequency and vibration which is signaling all these other things within themselves. So if you can get to understand yourself as an energetic body, that is the next stages to that healing that we're talking about. And then there's all these different methods that you can go about. So I would get people to try and understand that they have a biofield that what's the word, expands and contracts. We have that. It's a real thing. Feel yourself, feel the vibration of when you're reacting to something, feel that trigger, recognize it, recognize the patterns within yourself, recognize any particular rhythms you have in the things that you do, addictions that you have, things that you love, things that you hate. There are patterns that will help you dissect yourself down in that sense. I hope that wasn't complex, but there will be people who are ready to hear that information.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. You hit it on the head. I did a 5.5 hour, or actually, sorry, 8.5 hour workshop the other day on my Forbidden Knowledge TV called the I Imagination Workshop. And I talked about brain-heart coherence, which is really what you're tapping into there. And I talked about that for about 2.5 hours and how to resynchronize yourself. And I actually had to utilize those techniques on myself yesterday, just because I felt myself emotionally drifting and losing control of that frequency. I wanted to get back centered again. And I did. And I came to the realization that, us as truth seekers and people that would maybe be considered leaders in conscious community type content, we have to expose ourselves to a lot of information that the majority of people don't have to expose themselves to every day. They wake up, they look at a couple of posts, they go to work, they take a couple of selfies, they log in and look at a couple of posts, they come home, they eat some food, watch TV, look at a couple of posts and go to bed. We have to download all this stuff day in and day out and day in and day out. And a lot of it's not that great. There's a lot of negativity that we have to download, discern it, process it, and figure out how do we display this to the world to educate them about this. And while we're doing that in the process, we're actually bringing that negativity and that dark energy into us. We have to filter it and clean it on our own. It's a day-by-day process. Sometimes people don't realize. They look at people like myself and you, and they think, you guys should be able to handle anything or whatever. But they got to realize we still are inhabiting these avatar bodies too. And there's a certain amount of consistent and persistent self-work that we have to do every single day. I have to catch my emotions all the time. I have to put myself back in check all the time. I have to recenter myself all the time. I have to practice the same exact techniques that I'm teaching people. Otherwise, I just fly off at the hip sometimes. But it's just really, and the next thing we have to do between learning how to heal ourselves internally, going to inner space, learning how to heal, and also then finding some way to find that solace and that peace and checking ourselves and getting that brain-heart coherence back. We also have to find a solution as a civilization to end this. For example, police brutality is just one of the many things, but how do we curb it so that these things don't keep popping back up? And all the people are doing all this work internally, then all of a sudden another crazy situation happens and rekindles the spark. We have to find, as a civilization, we have to find a way. I was talking to my attorney today, Sheldon Daniels, and I was trying to find out with him, like, what things can be done to help this situation. And he came up with a couple of very intriguing ideas that I'm going to talk to him about, and we're going to try to bring to the public. I was thinking, the most important thing to me, I thought, was to probably hold these officers and these mayors of the sheriff and the mayor, the bosses of the officers. In other words, the deputies are out there working. He commits a egregious act against a human being, whether it's brutality or in some cases murder. That what happens is the people who win the case, they end up suing the city, and the city's taxpayers end up paying them. I don't think that's right. I think that it should be when you sue the officer, that it goes against personal funds of the sheriff and of the mayor, because they're the bosses of this deputy. So they, poor training, lack of training. They didn't do a good vetting process to pick this person with psychological battery testing, and so forth and so on. So I think when you hit people in the pockets, they're more apt to make sure their employees are doing exactly what they told them to do. Because I know if I was spending my whole career, 40, 50 years as a police officer, and I finally make it to sheriff, I get elected as a sheriff, and now I got my retirement fund and everything else, and I'm getting ready to retire, and one idiot goes out there and decides he wants to murder somebody, and now I potentially could lose my whole nest egg. I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen. So we're looking at options that can kind of affect mayors and sheriffs in that way. The other way is to bring legislation. New legislation is needed to curb police brutality. In other words, there needs to be rules and regulations in place that say if you do this and you're after a full review, of what's happened and all the evidence, if you're basically guilty of this situation, there's going to be sanctions against you, your precinct, whatever. There needs to be some legislation. But to get legislation like that to go through, we have to have more conscious people in positions of power in these offices and in these places that make those decisions. So it's a very big process, and we're probably not even close to getting there. But the most important thing is at least addressing the issue, being straightforward with it, and understanding how to control our emotions during the process, and continuously working on the internal healing, because it's a process that's always ongoing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, never deny the actual vibration. The vibration has to be recognized by the individual, otherwise it won't be dealt with, which is one of the problems of why things are so bottled up in a lot of individuals at the same time. So, and it can depend on your personality type and how you personally deal with things. For me, I like to look things straight in the eye and deal with it. I don't want to have fear associated with those things. Like to dominate anyway. It can be the initial fear that you have. So that's another thing. I don't want to be one of those people that are preaching deny the vibration and only positive thoughts. I don't want to do that. I think that's completely unrealistic to what is actually happening within the collective consciousness and the process of healing. So I think people should let it come out, but just feel it and explore it, but don't let that dominate you and your energetic body.
Right.
Just try and understand it as a vibration within yourself, so then you can get into the healing aspect. And can I just say that Qigong, it's very similar to Tai Chi. This is something that I have started, and I particularly had to start it because of my breathing and my own channeling and mediumship. It is so unbelievably powerful. I really recommend people to do that, because it is going to help you restore and regenerate your energy field, and also blockages within your body, the energetic blockages, and also the meridian points is going to help you stimulate and wake those up on like a daily basis if you do this, which is just going to help the flow of energy circulate better, and it's going to just help you get into the deeper breathing, which I mean, that can just take you from a bad mood to a good mood, just like that. So there's a lot of simple things that the human can do just for the vessel alone, and also diet. And, this is not something I've specialized, in, but that's what I probably channeled around, probably the last few months now, is actually to cleanse, to detox. Detox was a massive thing that I was channeling through. Parasite cleanses, and you can do cleansing of the blood and things like that. That's something I would highly recommend. I cleaned so much of my diet up, and now I really want to be channeling the best energies I possibly can at this time, because there's so much chaotic energy that you know what I mean? It wasn't worth eating certain foods anymore. I was like, I don't want that vibration in my body right now. I need to be as strong as I possibly can. So I'm going to feed it the most nourishing food I possibly can have, because all of the food that we're eating, it is a frequency itself. And I'm not someone who's going, oh, you have to be a vegan. Yeah, I'm not that kind of person, and I don't judge. And anyone who does channeling work knows that you shouldn't judge that as well, because there's a lot of different layers to understanding people's diets and the individual vessel and their own DNA, you know, a combination of many different things. So I don't judge people, individuals, or creatures on that level. But I do want to point out that if you do need to eat meat because of whatever dietary you know, thing that you personally have, or where you're at in your own, you know, evolution of eating, you can remove the frequency, like lower frequency. You know, this has been done for thousands of years by shamans and things like that. You actually can change the frequency of the meat. So if you're worried about it, you know, coming from a wherever, you know, and having like lower frequencies still in there, you can do things through your own thought intention to sort of remove that. That's a true thing. I know that a lot of people might not understand that, but that is actually something you really can do.
Indigenous peoples have been doing that for millennia. You know, yeah. They would only take what they needed from nature, and they would thank the animal. They would thank the spirit yes. of the animal. They would pray over the body of the animal, and they would bless it. You know, so they changed the frequencies. What they were doing, that's exactly what they were doing, changing the frequency of that food before they, you know, consumed it. And so I understand exactly what you're talking about, which is actually a very, very good idea. For some people are going to eat meat and have to eat meat. Some people are allergic to a lot of other plant-based type foods, and they literally can't eat certain plant-based foods. So their lack of nutrition forces them to have to get it from somewhere else. Some people don't understand it or even know that, you know? Yeah.
I do, because I'm anaphylactic, so I actually can't be vegan.
There you go.
I'm anaphylactic to all nut products, peanuts, avocado. So going into a vegan store for me is a nightmare, because it's a substitute for so many of those different you know, foods that they put in there, you know, even like almond milk or almond the almond meal that they'll substitute. I can't have any of that stuff. So that's why it's really important that we don't really judge people in that sense. Just know and encourage people to do the best that they possibly can do with their situation, and always know that their power is within that, their heart and thought intention with how they go about anything in the world. You don't have to try and fix the world and heal the world, like the whole entire world. Just really do that within yourself, and you will be an absolute beacon of light that other people will see. And, you know, you as a cell within the collective will be, you know, doing an amazing job on an energetic level.
Absolutely. One quick second. I'm going to read something from my book here. This is page 111. Let me see here. This one's up. Okay. Page 111. So what we're talking about here in page 111 of the compendium of the Emerald Tablets. Okay, if you, my lights are shining bright in here today. I'm all shiny. I gotta turn just like my goodness. I feel like I'm glowing. I need a light crew, you know, a camera, light crew, and everything else. I'm trying to do everything myself over here. But the reason why I want to read this is because it's along the lines of what we're talking about right now, you know, alchemically converting the energies. And so what Thoth starts talking about is when you're faced with adversity, you're faced with negative situations, and you're trying to find a way to, you know, get everything back under control and get things working back in your favor. You're supposed to utter these frequencies. Let me see. Is it... this is the third version of the book where the pages had changed. I'm trying to find it now in this particular version of the book here. 1 second. We're talking about somatic frequencies. Okay, here we go. It's actually page 118 in the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, the newest version. So Thoth tells the reader to speak the following names aloud. Now, when you go through the names and you analyze what Thoth is talking about, he's really talking about uttering frequencies, somatic frequencies. And through this process, you're supposed to be focusing on solutions to the problem, solutions to the issue, and envisioning yourself in a better place with whatever you're facing. And while you're doing this, you're uttering these names, but they're actually not names. Names is just a term used in the actual verse that he speaks, but it's really, these are all frequencies, not actual people. You come to learn this as you read on. But the frequencies are Utanas, Quertus, Chaital, Goyana, Huertal, Samveda, Ardal. And Thoth says by uttering these frequencies over and over again, backed by conscious intent, you have the capability of changing the frequency of your reality tunnel and changing what's really, what's happening to you and altering it, or altering future events to work out in your favor. And this is something that you can do over and over again. It's something that doesn't last permanently, but something, something to it's almost like a recentering of the brain-heart coherence. At the same time, it allows you, according to these frequencies, to really manipulate the matrix itself in a way, kind of a weird way, kind of like reprogram the reality tunnel that you're in at that moment. So I thought that was pretty cool. And this is in, very ancient text, and it's in the compendium book, page 118. So just something that I thought that was really interesting, and I've used it myself now for the last, I say, 3 years. Does it work? Well, I always seem to, things always seem to work out for me. No matter what happens, no matter what situation, no matter how bad it looks or how daunting a situation looks, I have to admit that I've been very blessed and very, very fortunate in that a lot of things work out. Now, keep in mind, a lot of the times I'm utilizing things that I've learned from ancient sages, in books and ancient texts, like this particular group of somatic frequencies, and I'm applying all these various different things, that I've learned from ancient stuff, and also even from more modern stuff. Some things that I read on your account, Irena, on your YouTube videos that I learned from, and Joe Dispoza, and all these people. I take a little bit from everybody, and I try to find ways to apply those things in my life. And I think that's what a lot of people need to do, is start finding things, like you say, self-help books and so forth, things that work for them, that they really, that are in alignment with the way that they think, and, start working on themselves that way. So, it's just so much we could talk about. I mean, we can go on forever with this topic.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that the main thing that I really want to point out is that you can't fight low, just low vibration and, distorted type energy. You can't fight it with the same vibration. And that's what seems to, that I posted recently on my story that is the actual global pandemic that has been, for thousands and thousands of years, which humans just stay in that cycle of thinking that their power lies within violence and aggression, and you just can't fight that lower distorted energy with lower distorted energy. It only creates more lower distorted energy within your collective. So that's what humans need to sort of rise above, and doing these things that we're talking about can try and help us get out of that toxic cycle that we keep repeating. So stepping into your power is not power over others. It's not violence. It's not revenge. It's not the aggression that I talked about earlier. That's not where your power is. The power is in these things that we just discussed, in this type of quantum manifesting, in this thought intention. It is the thought intention which is so unbelievably powerful, to the point where it's so powerful it can actually change the molecular structure of things, not just within your own energy field, but within objects. And that's how I really believe that a lot of the architecture and the pyramids and all the building, it was done through that. So there would have been a technology that they probably had to cut the stones and to do that. But I actually think that a lot of it was the vessel and the thought intention that they had. There's a lot of channeling records that actually say the same thing, that the beings would, or even humans were taught how to do this. It was through the thought intention. Obviously the planet was at a different resonance and they were at a high level of consciousness, but we can reprogram ourselves to get back into doing this. Do not underestimate yourself. People can remove tumors, cancers, all these different types of health problems that they have just within their own physical vessel. So you can reprogram your cells to do what you want, to work in your favor, and then on an external level as well. I know you're an amazing manifester, so I know you understand these things already, but that's what I really want to say. I'm like, people, your power does not lie there. Your logic is saying that this distortion is normal because that is your own programming. No distortion is normal. It is cause and effect. It is a result of something else, or decisions that have been made which have caused that. You can undo these things. You can undo the hijacking of the matrix, but it's a collective effort. So we're not going to get there straight away. We're not going to jump into the eighth paradigm. And when I was in LA, I watched a talk by Daniel Sheehan, who he's amazing, and he would talk about how people are trying to jump paradigms. So you'll get new age people, spirituality, which is trying to get like into this seventh, eighth paradigm of being this new earth at a higher vibration and resonance. But it's like, but we're still here, and there's still a process which has to happen in between that. And so it's a sixth paradigm, he would call it. So we need to still work within the monopoly system that we're in to try and change things. Just the planetary system that's still operating here, which is not at that level of consciousness. So how do we change our government systems? How do we create this new paradigm, which is going to lead us to the next one? Because the next one is really going to be the newer generations. Okay. So there's still a lot of work that we have to do within this period of time, unfortunately. But, you know, it's an honor to be planting the seeds, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's an honor. And we're pioneers. Everybody listening even to this video and downloading this information into their consciousness, they're pioneers, because they're taking a fractal of our thought processes as well and interacting with their own. And this will just continue to magnify and magnify and magnify. And over time, we literally are creating ripples in the space-time continuum that are going to alter future realities in the third dimension, and eventually allow mankind to move back into that golden age, you know, which is really what it's all about. These are all birth pains. All of this, the racism and the police brutality and the inequality and the poor schooling and taxes and you know, all money, the fake money system, all these things just part of the growing pains. And, you know, it's hard to see it like that when it's impacting you so strongly on the inside. But this is part of the growing pains of the Homo sapiens sapien as mankind tries to move back up into a higher dimension of consciousness, or not really move up, but realize the multidimensionality that we already are, and stop clinging to this third dimension physical realm so hard is the real thing to say. You know, so I know that we're going to get there. I'm optimistic that we will get there, because why? Because according to ancient records, we've done it before. So I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen again, you know, so I'm optimistic about it. It's just that we have to have the patience, and we have to have, like you said, we have to have enough awakened souls on the planet to come to like this collective consciousness that is completely aware of what we need to do as a whole to start making these changes as we move forward into higher dimensions of thinking. Right now, you know, technologically, we're not even a type 0 civilization. So we can't go from type -0 to type 3. There's a process, like you say. We have to go to type 0, then type 1, then type 2. All that takes millennia, you know, but somebody's got to start the root work, the groundwork, you know, and that's where we are right now.
Yeah, it's not external. I think people think that being an advanced nation is an external thing, and you have all these big buildings and all this technology. That's not what it is. The power is within you already. You are the tool, the technology. You are the energetic body that can do that. Again, it's the energetic thought. So when you, I think, have beings that are advanced, and you know, you hear a lot of whistleblowers or different books which go into even, you know, the Emerald Tablets. It's like the being, right? And say if they have technology, it works together. It's like biological itself, the technology. Yeah. That is more of an advanced sort of race type of technology. You know, it's not these fossil fuel things. Right. It's not even this certain artificial intelligence that we think is the answer and the solution to a lot of things. All advanced races work in harmony. So they'll say, for example, you'll put your hand like in the craft, right? Your hand is the machine, but it's like a part of you. So it responds to your actual thought pattern. You know, it's not just these gadgets that you sort of flick and press. The craft works with you. That's advanced technology. So we need to start thinking on that level of being connected to things in a way that we might not be used to. So it's not external. It all begins in here.
Yeah.
If you can get control over that or learn how to influence in a certain way, you'll have less influence from external energies that might not necessarily have humanity's best interest at heart. So if you can do that healing work within yourself that we're encouraging people, that will allow less influence. You'll be able to channel source, energy and go into super consciousness on your own. You're not going to be as manipulated by this matrix system that we're in.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
That's the truth.
That's dead on. That's absolutely straight on. And I know a lot of people that may hear this and listen to this that may have been impacted by some of the things that we're talking about are like, well, how do we go and do all of this when this stuff is still going on? You still have to do it. It's still part of the process. I could have so easily been continuously drugged right back into the current events, and I could have let it overwhelm me. I had to keep getting myself back in check. It's a process, because I realized just from many years of existence is that if I allow myself to be drawn into those low frequencies and those low vibrations on a consistent basis and don't check myself, I'm not productive. I can't help anybody. I can't even help myself. I can't, it's going to make me sick. I'm going to start feeling sick. I'm going to be getting to age, which I don't want to do. So all these things are going to start happening when I go down that path, that rabbit hole. It's not a good rabbit hole. So even though these things are happening, by getting myself back in check, by working on my internal healing, by getting my heart and brain coherence back in synchronicity, now it gives me the capability of trying to find solutions, of trying to navigate the matrix better, of realizing the true divine energy that's in me. And instead of now, where I used to worry about my son driving, now I'm saying, you know what, why am I worrying about him getting pulled over by the cops? I should command that he's okay and that this doesn't happen to him. I should bless him before he even leaves the house and command that he arrives at his destination safely. It doesn't just work for me. It works for anybody else that I decide to command to, because I have the divine energy inside of me already. So I'm start to, I'm always, it's a learning process. And, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. We're both the student and the teacher. So as I continue to go through this process of awakening and learning and trying to become an ascended master consciously, I'm learning every single day, and new things I'm picking up and adding to and building on what I've already learned and adding to it and utilizing those things and finding ways to realize, yes, things are still going to be going on. I still can't use it as an excuse to get drawn into this negative energy. I got to internally heal myself. I've got to realize the power that's in me. I've got to be able to bless not only myself, but even others. And I have to work on finding solutions, or try to be part of solutions, not being a part of the problem,
Yes, that's right. Don't be part of the problem. Try your best to be part of the solution. And that's the best thing you can do. And, I hear a lot of people saying, but I don't know who I am. What is this? What do you mean the power is within me? There's an aspect of you resonating in a higher dimension that already knows it all. And that's why I always say, but the answer's already within you. And that's why it's important to understand merging with your multidimensional self, because you don't have to doubt yourself. Why do you keep doubting yourself?
Yeah.
You don't need to doubt yourself. There are aspects of you that already know everything. They know more than what you can even comprehend within this dimension. Mm-hmm. But you can try and merge that here in this dimension. That is the greatest secret weapon you will ever have in this timeline and in this lifetime, is to try and merge that. That's why you want to do meditations. That's why you want to do anything that connects you to source energy, because that high resonating aspect of you, or your higher self, is the closest aspect of you to source energy, vibrationally. Yeah. So merging that here, you can merge wisdoms here. That's what Thoth and all of them, they worked on a multi-dimensional level. Yep. They realized there is no separation from it. All these people on this planet and reality are suffering because they are existing in a separation, which is their own programming, which they have then accepted.
Yeah.
within this reality. You don't need to know who you are in this. Don't be attached to what your ego is trying to understand. It's never going to understand in this dimension. It's never going to understand everything at all, and that's fine. So merge the other aspects that already do know here and realize that there is no separation from it. Your higher self is not a separate thing from you. It's really a part of who you are. So that's the secret for me. And if you do the steps and do the things that we've been stating, you might not understand that right now in that process, but that will come. Like you said, when the student is ready, that is going to come, and you can initiate it.
Yeah.
You can daily, you can initiate it, you can give it permission, you can request, you can do all of those things, not in a begging sort of way, but you can command. That's what I mean by request, like you said. You can command that it is here, but you need to give permission for certain things at the same time, like your third dimensional personality needs to recognize. So that's the superpower. That's super consciousness.
I agree.
Right here.
I agree.
That's where your power lies. It's not in the low vibration. It's not repeating, what the system is doing that you already hate. That's not how you step into your power. That's how you lose power. That's why I can't stress enough. Stop fighting low distorted energy with low distorted energy. It is unproductive. And you only lose your energy, and you let your vulnerability and your energetically, your weaknesses, that's going to be manipulated and taken advantage of. And you won't even know it. You probably won't even know it unless you get to know your energetic body. And then you're going to, how you were saying, when your energetic field needs restoration. When it needs regenerating. You'll be able to feel it because you have practiced it. You've become aware of alpha, theta brainwave states. So you're familiar on what brainwave state do I have access to my multidimensional self? How can I practice this? It's really practice. And I talked to a girlfriend who's in Lebanon at the moment. She lives in Lebanon, and she was asking me a few questions, and that's really the answer. It's practice. If you're getting psychic abilities, channeling, that's normal. Psychic abilities are normal.
Yep.
Telekinesis and all of those, telepathy and all of those things humans can do. That's the norm. We are not operating at norm. We are operating at separation. Like everything is separate from us. When you combine all of that and you merge all of that, you are able to do all of these things. It's not difficult. It's the way of life of high resonating beings. They don't even need to eat because they know how to transmute energy in a way which actually just restores their body and their cells, and they might, as you go up, you might need photonic light energy or something that, is all you really need to feed on. That's just a reality. You don't have to jump to that right now. But putting that into perspective, you go, wow, damn, I'm powerful. I am so much more powerful, and I've been living my entire life not realizing how damn powerful the human being actually is when they can go into super conscious state. That is how you change the world. That's how we're going to change this paradigm, evolve this paradigm, and how we're going to stop letting other energy forms manipulate us and this matrix that we're in.
Absolutely. You hit it right on the head again. A lot of the stuff that I'm teaching in my Egyptian mystery schools and my different courses, my workshops and everything else, it's the power's already in us. Each cell in the human body, this is how Qigong actually is possible. Each cell in the human body has 0.07 millivolts of electricity. And you have so many billions of cells. By the time you multiply it, there's about, on average, about 2.6 trillion volts of electricity in one human body. So Qigong allows you to harness and channel that energy that's already in you up your energy centers, and allows you the capability of utilizing it in your energy field, in your hands, it's in your life as well. So it's an amazing thing. So getting people to understand that power that's in them is, the main thing, and realizing that even like myself, I felt myself slipping and I caught myself, and we've got to be able to do that. And then current events, they're going to happen. When this thing dies down, something else is going to come, So I'd like to talk to you again before another event, though. Well, we've got to realize there's always going to be something coming. There was a economic collapse in 2008. There was an economic collapse in 2020, right? Because of COVID-19. There's going to be another one coming. We have to understand these things are going to come no matter what. We have to be spiritually ready for these things when they come, and ready to try to be of assistance and service to others to help raise their awareness, their consciousness, and help heal them when it does happen.
Yeah. And if something bad happens to you along the way and you do fall and you stumble, it's okay. You're meant to learn something from that. All it is doing is opening a door going, look at all of this healing you can do. If you do this, you can empower yourself, and we'll open up another door that's right up here. You know, it's okay. Go through that process. Don't judge people necessarily for, you know, going through the notions of healing, because, you know, it's pretty chaotic in itself. So, I mean, it's very easy to do that, but let's try not to do that. Let people just go through that process, you know, in their own individual way. Just try and identify what they're going through and try and support them as much as you can. You don't have to lose yourself to it, of course. You know, you want to still maintain your own energetic body, so don't let yourself be drained by anybody else. But, you know, just recognize that people are going through purging right now, and it's not a pretty sight. You know, it means doing shadow work, and it means going to some very, very dark places, you know, within your life energetically that you might have been hiding or suppressing, or maybe you didn't even recognize it was still there.
Yeah.
Just let yourself go through the process. Let them go through the process. And, you know, we're going to get through this. I don't hate 2020, though. I know a lot of people hate 2020. I don't. I'm still going to manifest the hell out of it.
Yes, absolutely.
And make it work in my favor. And any shadow work that you have that's being revealed to you is a blessing. Thank it. Thank it, because it is giving you the keys. All those traumas that you have, don't be ashamed of any of them. Don't. It's okay. Screw what anybody else thinks. Face them. Do what you have to do. They're magical keys to your evolution of power.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
That's where the keys are. It's not the whole love and light and that's it, and positive thoughts. It's the shadow work. That's how you step into your power. And I commend anybody who has been facing some really dark aspects of themselves through this whole process, and you are still going, no, I'm going to make it. I'm going to do this. I love my life. I love who I am. I accept who I am. Good for you. Keep going. I support you, because you are doing the real light work, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. The light from the inside. It's very true, very powerful. And what you said, I've seen, I've witnessed. And even like I said, you know, guys, you just have to understand, you know, this is a situation that we're facing. It's the awareness level is very, very high. This particular event that just happened with unfortunately with George Floyd has created a very large ripple in space-time. That's not going to be one swept underneath the rug. This one, the ripple is so big, it's going to have a long-lasting, futuristic change of effect on the civilization of the entire planet Earth. Not tomorrow, but this ripple is going to create a lot of change, and a lot of positive energy did go in behind this ripple as well, which is pushing this wave as it passes through, ripples through time. And I just ask that everyone try to expose the situation for what it is, and deal with it head on, so that we can cure the disease of racism on this planet. But at the same time, don't utilize negative low frequency aspects of yourself to try to think that you're affecting it in a positive way, because you're not going to be able to do that in that method. It's only going to come from the positive thoughts, positive conscious intent, and the ability for you to logically come up with solutions, us to come up with solutions as a collective that help better our life on this planet in a way that can make equality, you know, beneficial for all. And it's something that we have to have patience with, because, like I say, it's probably not going to happen tomorrow. It could happen in a year, 5, 10, it could be 20 years from now before this disease is eradicated, this disease of racism. But it could happen because it happened before in ancient times, as we headed into a previous golden age. And we're already in the Tetra Yuga, in my opinion, moving up the Silver Age, trying to head back to another golden age. So we may be planting seeds that are going to grow trees in the shade that we'll never sit in, but there's hope for future generations, hope for prosperity. And I think it's beneficial to do this shadow work and this faith work and this spiritual work for future generations, because in my personal opinion, it draws in positive karma. And, one of the things I'm looking for, one of my ultimate goals is to become an ascended master and consciously incarnate at will. So I have to go through all of these different aspects of myself and have to learn, all the different things that I'm failing at and winning at and learning at and prospering at, so that I can be more like the person that I really wrote about in my book, Filth. I'm really trying to get to that level that he went to, this awareness of the multidimensionality and the ability to transcend it at will. That's my ultimate goal. Maybe not everybody's, but I want to thank you for coming on today, Irena. And do you have any final words for the people?
Yeah. You know what? We all know that there's negative agendas, in the world, negative energies and entities, but they don't want you to heal. They want you to stay stagnant in your evolution so they can keep manipulating you. They don't want you to heal. So that's why healing is the most powerful thing you can possibly do at this time, to step into your power and to give them less power, because that's what you want, right? That's what we all want. We want to give them less power. So I really can't stress enough that that's what you should do. And during the process, don't create your own separation and divide, because that doesn't help your own healing process. I see a lot of that going on right now. So I just wanted to, leave that as last notes. They don't want you to heal. So that's exactly what you're going to do. Yeah. You're going to heal, and we're going to heal, and we're going to do this together, united and collectively. It's going to be a process, but we'll get there, as long as we know that there is no separation. There is no skin color at the end of the day. We are, we are vibration and we are energy, and that is how we should be going about people, in our life and ourselves. It really is the energy. So at the end of the day, none of that exists. And I love you all, and thank you so much for having me. Billy, I love talking to you, and you know that it's really comforting for us, because we have sort of the same agenda in that thing. And so it's really nice to know that we have other people that we can go to who really do support what we're doing and are genuine in heart. And yeah.
Yeah. Where can we find you online?
You can follow my YouTube channel, which is Irena Diva, and also my Instagram, which is Irena Diva as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks a lot. There you have it, guys. Another episode of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. This was a great talk. I learned from this talk, just sitting here talking to Irena, and I'm really excited to get this video out there to everybody, because I'm going to watch it again myself, because I learned from not just, my own research and studying. I learned from other people. And I really love talking to you, Irena, because every time I talk to you, I feel like I gain something. I get some more positive, great learning techniques and tactics that I can use in my own life. And I think it's so important to continue to provide people with solutions and not just talk about the problem. So thank you very much. All right, everybody. We'll see you guys later. Bye.